What is going on, my fellow geeks, and welcome back to Raving Geeks.
I do have a media recommendation.
I love Lord of the Rings. Superheroes, movies, a little jack of all trades, I guess.
So what makes me a geek?
What is going on, my fellow geeks, and welcome back to Raving Geeks, your weekly pop culture podcast from Central Michigan Life, where we discuss all things geek culture, which is like high culture, but better. If this is your first time joining us, make sure you follow the CM Life Instagram and Twitter pages for updates on the podcast, and look for us wherever you find your podcasts, including YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on our website at www.cm-life.com. My name is Brendan Valentine, and I'd like to thank you all for joining me and my fellow co-hosts this week, who will introduce themselves in a second with our question of the week. And speaking of our question of the week, I'm actually going to pass it on to one of our co-hosts. Hope, take it away.
Yeah. Hey everyone, I am Hope Gooderl. So I kept this question a secret because I wanted my co-hosts raw and honest reactions to this. So this question actually has multiple parts, and it'll depend on your answer to the first part. So the first part is, have you actually listened to the full song from the Rogers musical from the first episode of Hawkeye? Of saving, I think it's called Saving the City.
Isaac Hunter here. Hello. I have not listened to the whole song. I have been living in blissful naivete about it because I only know the clip from that episode 1.
Ditto. I didn't know there was a full version.
Okay, first off, how dare you both?
We can look up the lyrics real quick.
The lyrics are quite entertaining, but like the other thing is, so the guy who plays Steve Rogers in the musical, who sings the song, is Adam Pascal, who played Roger in Rent, the guitar player. Saved the City from Hawkeye. And the other thing, so just like the lyrics make me laugh sometimes, because I laugh at the fact of Captain America sings "Kick Some Ass," and I'm like, the Steve Rogers we know and love said language when someone said,
America's ass.
But then there's also they talk Black Widow's singer says we'll conquer the Chitauri, and then Iron Man goes, and then we'll get shawarma when we're done. And I'm like, okay, I realize it's a musical, so like you can take liberties because you know what happened, but like also they didn't know that who they were battling. They just knew it was aliens and Loki.
Yeah.
No, they knew the name Chitauri.
Did they?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, by the Battle of New York, by the end of the Battle of New York, they did.
Okay.
But the audience definitely didn't know that the Avengers got shawarma.
Yeah.
I feel like that is a big event. Like, I feel like after the Battle of New York, that like them sitting in like the shawarma place would have been like on the news. Like as soon as like one person saw them, they would do that.
Yeah. But then like the final part that I absolutely love from the song is so they lead up to, so they say, Hawkeye, there's no better target than you. Natasha's a knockout who can knock you out. They go through all the different things of like describing the characters. So not only does it have Ant-Man in it, which like even Hawkeye, Clint Barton's like, he wasn't even there, which I'm going to come back to that point in just a second. But when they get to Hulk and like telling him what to do, they say 3 times before they finally say the magic word. They say, Hulk, you know the magic word is. Hulk, you know the magic word is. And after the 3rd time, the guy who plays Hulk goes smash, 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 and then erupts in this like beautiful voice that you would not think would come out of Hulk, especially like original Hulk, early Hulk. But so I just, there's lots of quirks in the song. But so my follow-up question, which doesn't rely on you guys needing to have listened to the full song. Ant-Man being in the musical during the Battle of New York. He wasn't there in the Avengers movie, but he technically was in New York during Endgame when they went back in time. So technically, like, they have shifted their own, because that's how time travel works. They shift their own presents and futures by disrupting the past or doing something in the past. So could Ant-Man have actually been part of the Battle of New York in the
Based
new
on
timeline?
based on Endgame's logic, this is still the same timeline as it was before. Like the alternate timeline, that is an alternate timeline that is not the MCU timeline. So I don't think so. I think that's just them poorly adapting the musical.
That's fair.
Or he was there and we just never know. No.
Well, I mean,
the
like
only way
Hank,
that would be possible would be Hank.
Hank Pym.
Hank Pym.
But follow up, I think if you have to adapt one more MCU character's like story into a musical, what is the title of that musical and which character are you adapting?
I don't think I can give you a title, but I think it would be really interesting to do like kind of Anastasia-esque of Black Widow of Natasha Romanoff.
Because it's
Do
the
musical
Romanoff family anyways. Oh. Ooh, it'd be funny for a Rocket Raccoon musical, but it's called Rabbit.
Yes. Yes.
I could see them doing like a full-on production, like Shakespearean-esque of Thor, but like you know how like they do the Thor, like the players in like Thor Ragnarok, and then they're gonna do it again in Thor Love and Thunder. I'd love to see the like Earth's adaptation of that now that like Asgard is on, like New Asgard is on Earth or has been on Earth, so they'd have the full story. I'd love to see that. They'd probably call it like God of Thunder or something like that. But I think that would be funny to see the Earthling adaptation of without Loki directing it, but you know everyone
like,
that had seen the prior show.
I mean, it'd be funny because they'd probably have to go to New Asgard to get like quotes and like understand the story. And Valkyrie's like there, so she might be like, "Oh yeah, it's called Valkyrie and the Heroes of Asgard," and it's like as if she was there the whole time.
Oh, also Valkyrie would definitely.
I was gonna say, are we casting Chris Hemsworth and Liam Hemsworth's older brother as Thor as they did in Ragnarok?
Oh, they probably. Well, no, he's Asgardian, so I don't think we can do that. But, I don't know. For continuity's sake, I don't think we can. But I think it'd be funny.
I like the idea though that the fact that the actors are back again in the new one.
Yeah, and Melissa McCarthy's gonna be Hela.
Ragnarok, which means they survived Hela and they survived Ragnarok, and they survived the half of the people that Thanos killed by hand, which weren't resurrected because he killed them by hand. Be an actor. That's very
but
funny.
Also it would be really funny if Loki was the director, but in disguise Loki. Like, come on. You think
like
that Loki would pass
TVA Loki?
Possibly, or just like, you know, Loki pretending to be Odin Loki. You know. Because you
Yeah, but at this point Loki's like dead. So we need Loki variant.
Yeah.
We would have a Loki variant.
Instead of TVA Loki, it's TV and film Loki.
Well, anyway, we're gonna move on to our geek news for the week. So, what have y'all got for us?
Okay, I'll start. Nothing big, but as we all know, Lord of the Rings is near and dear to my heart. And for those of you that watch Stephen Colbert, might have known that the other day he shared on his show a rap called Number One Trilly, as in the number one trilogy. And it featured all of the Hobbits, as well as a number of other actors from Lord of the Rings, like Orlando Bloom in it, basically singing rap about how they're the number one trilogy. And it's pretty hilarious. And I think everyone should go give it a YouTube. But they make fun of Anna Kendrick a couple times in it, and she's there and she's like, what the heck? But
I love that.
I just, as someone that loves Lord of the Rings, because it's the 20th anniversary was like this past weekend of the Fellowship coming out, so I think it dropped perfectly, and it is the #1 trilogy. 17 Oscars. That's all I gotta say.
And most of it is just because all they have to do is show scenery of them walking.
That's all they need, and music. Howard's score.
There you go. Yeah.
Howard Shore, his score. Hope news.
Do you want me to go next, Brendan, with all of my geek news, or
Go for it.
Want to go? Okay.
You can go for it.
So I'm going to try and be quick here. So first, Wilmer Valderrama, who you might know from that 70s show or recently NCIS, he is now going to be in a new TV series from Disney, which they have not confirmed if it's going to be like TV Disney or like on ABC / Freeform or on Disney Plus or both. But Wilmer Valderrama is now going to be playing Zorro in a revamping, renewed version of the original TV show, not the movies, the TV show, which was back in 1957 until 1959, starring Guy Williams. That was the original. And Zorro, the character Zorro, was originally created in 1919 by American pulp writer Johnston McCulley. So I'm actually really excited for that because I love the story of Zorro.
Yeah, no, I love Zorro. That would be so sick, especially if they got even though he's from the film,
Antonio
Banderas to be like, even if he was just like a random person, that would be so cool.
Yeah. And Wilmer Valderrama also was quoted saying, "Growing up, Zorro was the one character that made me, as a Latino, feel like I could be a hero. As an adult and a storyteller, I have a responsibility in the stories that I help bring to life. To partner with Gary and Disney to bring Zorro back into the family after 60 years and be a part of the legacy for other children to know that they too can be heroes of their own stories is a dream come true." So I'm super excited for that. Next, so this came out, the producer Barbara Broccoli, I'm assuming it's just broccoli because that it looks like how you say broccoli, who owns the rights to the James Bond series, said that the next actor to play James Bond could identify as non-binary. If this is not like the next, but like down the line, that could definitely be a thing. And the next 007 could go by the pronouns they, them. It will be so like saying that they could be non-binary. The producer has said that the actor, it would always be an actor, male role. If it was female, they'd create just a new role entirely.
008. I don't know.
Yeah. But she also made it clear that any ethnicity or race could play James Bond, except for they have to be British. So Dwayne Johnson is out of the running.
Idris Elba is in the running.
It's in the running. But also recently found out, also in this article, was that Dwayne Johnson's grandfather, Peter Mavia, actually played a villain in the 1967 You Only Live Twice. And so Dwayne Johnson was hoping to follow in his grandfather's footsteps. But, you know, maybe he could go in as like, you know, the American agent or something. I don't know.
A villain.
Yeah.
Like Henry Cavill in that Mission Impossible movie.
Yes.
That good movie.
That was a good movie. Diana Gabledon, the author of the Outlander series, has started working on the 10th novel of the Outlander series. And this is while she is on a book tour for another book that she has published called Go Tell the Bees That I Am Gone. And so I like this book is most likely the end of Jamie and Claire's story, which is what the TV show follows as well. But it won't be her final text in the Outlander universe, because she said that she's working on a prequel novel about Jamie's parents and a book about Master Raymond, a time traveler who plays a small role in the Outlander story. So I find that very intriguing, and it makes me want to go watch the show / read the books a lot more. My next bit of news, I have 2 pieces left, is that Megan Rath and Jack Cutmore Scott, who are married in real life, are going to be starring in Wouldn't It Be Nice, a romantic workplace comedy in the works at CBS. And they actually just had a kid too. They live in Hawaii because Megan Rath was on Hawaii Five-0 in the last few seasons. And then my final bit of news is on December 14th, Netflix announced that the franchise after the third and latest movie will be available to stream from January 17th, 2022 and on. So that for now, After We Fell, which is the 3rd installment of the After movies, will be available to stream only in the United States on Netflix starting in January. So
Cool.
that is my geek news.
Awesome. Well, my geek news just consisted of things that have been released since we last spoke. So Hawkeye has been released, everything except for the final episode at the time of this recording. Spider-Man No Way Home has also released. However, we are still under the spoiler blanket, so we will not be discussing the film on this episode, but hopefully in the near future. Also, the oh darn, I blanked. Something else came out. Oh, the trailer
Witcher?
for yes, The Witcher. The Witcher season 2 has released and has gotten good reviews. So
Woo.
it keeps going, and I believe season 3, while not, it is likely not necessarily confirmed, but yes. And then the trailer for the new Fantastic Beasts movie has also been released. So
The Secrets of
if you
Dumbledore.
yes, if you
So
have
excited.
you have not been following any of those, they've all been released and they're available to watch for the most part. Alrighty. Well, today here on Raving Geeks, to round out our year, we just wanted to discuss some of our favorite pieces of media tied into some of our favorite directors, and like how that impacts like how we present ourselves as geeks. And just wanted to talk about some of those, just to you know how they do on the radio stations, like the wrap up of the songs of the year. We just wanted to talk about our end of 2021 wrap up on what we think of ourselves as geeks. So, who would like to start saying what their favorite media / director / franchise / tie-in is?
Gosh, there's so much there. I have so many. But I'll talk about one or two. One of my favorite directors, I'll start with director. One of my favorite directors of all time is Edgar Wright, for those who know him. I love Edgar Wright. He is British, and he directed the Cornetto trilogy. He directed and co-wrote, like Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and World's End.
Mhm.
And they're hilarious. And he has just like a way of, he uses like lights and sounds hilariously, and a lot of big pans that are like comedic. I don't know, I can't explain it. He also did Scott Pilgrim versus the World, one of my all-time favorite movies. He directed the first Ant-Man movie, and that's pretty funny, so I think he did a good job. As well as Baby Driver, which had some pretty awesome
Oh, really?
scenes. Yeah,
I love Baby Driver. That's a very good movie.
and he just directed Last Night in Soho, which I have not had the liberty of watching yet, but I've heard good things. I don't know, Edgar Wright. I watched like a video on him on YouTube the other day, just about him going over his like greatest works. And it's funny because he's just seems like a total like bro. He's like, yeah, he's like, he seems to like really work with his actors. And if they bring up an idea, he'll be like, oh yeah, totally, give it a shot. And if it's funny, like we'll keep it in. Which is pretty cool. But I don't know. I think he sees things a little bit differently, and I think it's really funny. He's, I guess, a really good comedic director. Those are all his movies I've actually seen. Oh, and The Adventures of Tintin. I did watch that as well. That one was animated.
Dang, those are all really good movies, and I've
Yeah,
seen most of them.
and like
And
I feel like his name isn't that big, but like his works definitely are.
absolutely. I hope.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go kind of like basic on the whole director aspect. But I really like Christopher Nolan, especially for my background today is a still from the movie Dunkirk. That is one of my favorite movies. And if you think that like silent films are dead, they're not. Now, granted, you have sound effects and everything in Dunkirk, and there is some talking in Dunkirk, but the majority of the film is like no words. And to be able to get all the actors, especially being men, like a bunch of men all grouped together, like in close spaces where they could easily just start whispering to each other and everything, like to get them all to act a certain way and like be focused enough to make this huge film. Like he is really good, and like he's known for the Dark Knight series, which
Interstellar.
yeah, Interstellar is
That's my
another good.
favorite Nolan film.
Such a good film.
Inception is another one. Tenet, which was a recent release. And of course, he was an executive producer on Zack Snyder's Justice League. Fun fact. But yeah, I really like him for that. But I'm also going to add in music composers. So one of my absolute favorites is, and I'm going to look it up because otherwise I'm going to say his name wrong, Klaus Badelt, who did the Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl movie score. That is what I put on to like focus and to be able to go through and do something, because I put that movie score on. And it's just really good. But also, of course, John Williams. And Hans Zimmer is another one of my favorite composers. Honestly, like people ask me about movies, I usually end up talking about the movie score too. So, yeah.
I think that Klaus Badal also did. I think he also did Gladiator. I could be wrong.
Yes, I think he did.
And I love Gladiator, so I don't know. All right, sorry, continue.
Oh, you're good. Well, if you're watching on video, you can see behind me, we have my friend Henry Cavill as Superman, living in a destroyed metropolis. And if you can guess from that and from Hope's choice of Christopher Nolan, I am really a big fan of Zack Snyder, but only Zack Snyder like 2009 onward, which is when he was the director for Watchmen. And if you've watched specifically the director's cut of Watchmen, it's really faithful to the source material, and Watchmen's one of my favorite like graphic novels of all time. And I think watching that movie like really got me into like the darker side of heroes. And everything that Zack Snyder did before like the 2010-ish time, I'm not super familiar with, but I know his first like really big thing was 300. Which was good. I don't know if how much he was involved in the sequel, because I also didn't see the sequel to 300. But I also know one of the fun fact, he directed a music video for My Chemical Romance. I don't know for which song, but I thought that was really funny. I was looking through. I can double check right here. Desolation Row, if you're familiar with the song. But yeah, from Watchmen is what really got me into Zack Snyder's work. And I think, from then on, he got control of Man of Steel and has kind of been like, was supposed to be the lead of the DCEU and then kind of lost control. But one thing I really like about like Snyder's movies is I do like dark, gritty action movies. But I think one thing that he's captured, at least in the DC movies that he's done, is like the essence of like the hero, like the flawed hero that I really like. Especially like going through like Superman, Man of Steel. My biggest issue with Superman has always been like they've turned him into the Blue Boy Scout after the Silver Age of comics. He's like they've kind of taken like his edge off, and like once as it did help develop like his backstory with Krypton and everything, because when Superman first, like in the Golden Age, it was not fleshed out that he was an alien. He was just a guy. Um, but after that, it was just like, oh, he's this unattainable, morally high person that you can't like quite reach. So like it was hard for me to identify with struggles. But Man of Steel is the first bit of Superman content that I was like, this makes me like Superman. Well, that's not true. I did like Superman the animated series, but like Man of Steel really got me in like I think I could like follow this like Superman, like this story. Like Superman the animated series was not Batman the animated series, but it was still fun and good. But
Yeah,
then after
I was
watching
gonna
the
say,
Snyder cut
yeah.
of Justice League too, like up to this point, he still like has that understanding, even like when it's not a solo film, of like how to bring these characters together, and highlight all of like their issues and bring that to justice. And I think it works specifically with DC heroes and less with Marvel heroes. What were you gonna say, Isaac?
I was just gonna say I agree wholeheartedly on your whole like that this is what like made Superman really likable. I was just gonna agree with that because like it was like before this, it was always Batman for me. I mean, it kind of still is, but
Hmm.
it was like I like Superman if he wasn't shown in a good light, usually, like Injustice, of course.
Yes.
I liked when they did big twists on that, but Zack Snyder was able to make Superman as he is be a very like a character that you want to follow his story. Yeah, as you
And I
said.
think a lot of the modern incarnations of superheroes too have come from, at least in film, because a lot of like the comic changes showed up after Watchmen and Alan Moore. Uh, was like that was a big shift in comics. And I think Zack Snyder did the same thing for superhero films, following Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, which grounded Batman a little bit more, a little less like goofy, like the way that the TV show was and the Keaton films were. The Keaton films weren't goofy, but like the Dark Knight was dark. And I think Zack Snyder with Watchmen like expanded upon that, and the popularity of that kind of helped shape what superhero films are now. Caveat of the MCU because they have their own thing going on, but the DC movies, which I like, and that might be a controversial opinion, at least the ones that Zack Snyder's been like involved in. So, and then yeah, so follow-up question. I know like for me, like Zack Snyder's films have like shaped how I know that I like superhero films, and that's a big part of my geek identity is like DC and Marvel. But this year, what piece of media, like could be anything, could be a TV series, could be like an album, could be a movie. What piece of media has shaped you as a geek the most this year?
Oh man. Someone that already knows can go ahead because I have to think about this.
I
Oh,
can go.
same.
I can go. For me, it was actually WandaVision. Um, I know that was like way back at the beginning of the year, but I was skeptical about the MCU turning into series at the beginning. Like I was excited for them because it just meant like I got to see more stuff. I didn't have to go to the theater. I already had a Disney Plus subscription, so I wasn't paying any more for it. Um, but WandaVision showed me that like the MCU as a show works, and all the other shows have been good, and I've kept my trust in them, and they've been really nice. So I think also the way that the story like was partially adapted from like House of M, but not really, like showed me that in a lot of movies, like Captain America Civil War, you know what it's based on, and you can kind of tell, based on the structure of the MCU, where it's going. WandaVision kind of showed me that they can take more liberties, because my one issue, like not an issue, but the one concern I had with MCU becoming a series is it's like, okay, they're going to be more faithful to the comics because they'll have like you can turn a comic book into an episode of television. It would take a couple of comic books to turn it into like to become a movie in terms of length. And I was just afraid it was gonna be like, oh, we're just gonna carbon copy these, and not gonna work on like the character development that has happened in the MCU. But with WandaVision, it adapted to like the shorter format. It was it didn't feel like just a movie broken up into a bunch of different parts. It felt, organic and whole, like it was its own thing. Like each episode told its own story and then it led into the next. And I don't know, that changed my perspective on, the superhero blockbuster has been the big thing, and now I'm a little more open to the superhero TV show. The same way that Mandalorian got me into the idea of Star Wars as a TV show that isn't the Clone Wars. So for me,
Yeah.
that's what it was.
For me, so I was looking up when it was actually released. So technically the first season of The Witcher was released December 20th of 2019, but I didn't watch it until this past year. And honestly, like I've always been a fan of like fantasy and like magic and different takes on magic and but The Witcher, it was different because a lot of times females are portrayed as like either completely evil because they're not bowing to what men of society want, or like super naive. Maybe they can defend themselves a little bit, but like they still need the guy to protect them more. But with The Witcher, like it really changed a lot of how fantasy women are portrayed, at least from what things that I've seen. Just between like the queen and then
Yennefer.
Yennefer and I want to say Cersei, but I feel like that's wrong. The girl,
Ciri.
Ciri, that's what it is. That like all three of them were all individually strong characters, and like Yennefer goes and becomes like technically on the bad side, but then she's also just like, look at everything here, look at why you're oppressing this and what's happening with this, and like turns out to be just kind of morally gray. But like they were all strong, and even Yennefer at times was like, Geralt, I don't need you, I can take care of myself. And they actually kind of flipped the script a little bit too, of like Geralt needed the female characters to help him along his journey more than like the female characters needed a male character, which I really love a lot. So yeah, that one was mine. And I think it's also, isn't it like a graphic novel series?
It was a book series originally, and I think it's Dutch. It might be Dutch. I could be lying on that.
And then that inspired the video game, and the video game inspired the series.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yes.
Well, I mean, the
both.
book did inspire the series. Like that's where they get a lot of their content. But I think it was the popularity of the video game series that got Netflix to pick up a show on it.
Yeah, that's more what it's based off of, is the video game. Like like you said, they said collections of short stories, The Last Wish and Sword of Destiny, that precede the main Witcher series, is what like the first season, the first 8 episodes were based on. So
I just looked through all the top movies and shows and video games that came out in 2021. 2021 kind of just flew by.
I know, right?
Let's be honest though, the past like 2 years were all just one big year.
Yeah, I know. It still seems like it's 2019 a little bit.
Okay. Then I won't, because we're talking about anything that came out in 2021, right? Not just movies.
Yeah.
Okay, so then I'll break the mold, and I will say that even though I'd always been a big fan of Legos, love Legos, big Lego guy. As if you're watching, you can see behind me, I have shelves with Legos. But I feel like I definitely, I don't know, a lot of the new sets came out, and I definitely got really even more into Lego collecting this year, 2021 and 2022. I mean 2020, the future. But there were some good movies and TV shows that came out, and because of that, there were good sets that followed. Like there was the Marvel minifigure series came out for Lego, and I like would go to the store and I would like feel up the mystery packs, which you probably shouldn't do, but I would feel them up and I would like touch and I'd be like, oh, this one has got to be like Star-Lord, and I'm like, well, from the show. Or I'll be like, oh, this is Zombie Captain America, this is Loki. And I was able to find like all these really cool Legos because of course, the shows came out, which is why they were there. And so it kind of all came together. But that definitely pushed me to become even more of a nerd. 100% more of a geek is the merchandise that follows movies and TV shows, which is actually some of the reason that some TV shows, especially children's TV shows, stay alive, is merchandise.
Merchandising. Yeah, I always forget about that, especially because I'm not like in stores a lot anymore because pandemic. But that's definitely a big driver of a lot of what we end up getting. So
That's why the original Teen Titans, I'm pretty sure, ended up was canceled, and they like ended it was merchandise did not sell.
They could have kept
And
producing
that's
that
our
show
fault
for-
as consumers.
I don't think that's our fault. We were like 8.
I should have begged more.
I was gonna say we didn't beg hard enough. So, 2021 is almost officially over. I believe this will be our last episode of the year. But 2022 will be coming up very soon, and there's a lot of things to look forward to in 2022. So, what are you looking forward to most? Like, and what do you think will impact you the most as a geek?
Well, for TV shows, I already know that I'm gonna get emotionally destroyed when 911 Lone Star comes out on January 3rd. All of the trailers and pictures, promotional things that they are putting out is already, I'm like, this season is going to be intense, and this is only like, I think it's actually like the second or third season. I don't remember exactly because they had a weird break period. But yeah, so that's TV shows. I'm super excited for that one. But as far as like movies, honestly, if you are a avid listener of Raving Geeks or you know me in general, you're not going to be surprised by the movie that I say at all. It is Fantastic Beasts, the Secrets of Dumbledore. One, I'm excited for more Theseus. 2, Jacob gets a wand. So excited for that. Then we've got Pickett had a lot of scenes in the trailer, which was adorable. I'm looking forward to more Niffler scenes and hopefully more baby Niffler scenes. Because I just had a clip on I think it was YouTube or TikTok. That was the baby Niffler scene when Newt comes home to his light flickering because one of the baby Nifflers is trying to steal the lamp pole, and then another one is shoving the weights from the scale into his pouch. And I'm like, oh, I want a baby Niffler so bad. They're chaotic, but they're adorable. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, so those are my things that I can think of at least.
Okay. I'm gonna avoid talking about Marvel just because we all know Marvel's coming out. So I'll focus on video games. Whether or not I'll actually get them, because it's really make or break when it comes to my my wallet and its contents and video games. But 2022 is looking like it's going to be a good year of video games. There's a lot coming out. I am especially excited for Pokemon Legends Arceus.
And you stole my stuff. I'm so excited for that game. I am so incredibly excited for that game.
It looks so good. And okay, I guess I can follow that up with the new Breath of the Wild. I think might come out in 2022, hopefully.
Mhm.
And they look like they're going to be pretty similar games, hopefully. But Pokemon Legends Arceus, I've never been more excited looking at the designs of Pokemon from a region than this one. Sun and Moon came out, and I'm like, oh, it's like an Alola version of Pokemon. Whatever, that's cool. Those Doug Trios have wigs now. That's cool. Just kidding. They're steel fibers, not wigs. But Legend of Arceus, I don't know if it's just a history major in me, but I love seeing the fact that it's like, oh, this Scyther has axe blades that look like they're very Stone Age technology. Well, stone, and it's like it eventually will evolve from a normal Scyther, which is super cool.
It shows that Darwinian evolution also exists in the Pokemon world, not just like Pokemon evolution.
Yeah, not just gosh. Which there have been some Pokemon movies where they literally go into ancient times. But I don't know. It's super cool. Of
Well, not
course,
all Pokemon have had that change because like we still have the normal ones like Oshawott and Rowlet are still the same
you
in this
can't
one.
change a god tier Pokemon.
No, not at all. Rowlet.
Rowlet. And then of course, God of War Ragnarok is coming out, and I never played God of War growing up, but then I played it. I got it for the PS4, and I played that, and it blew my mind. I love Norse mythology, even a new take on it where gods are awful. I mean, they always have been. But that looks really cool. Horizon Forbidden, Horizon Dawn, the Forbidden West, and then of course the Lord of the Rings Gollum video game is going to come out next year, and I'm just kind of interested in what that looks like. I don't know if it's going to be awful or weird, but I'll try and play it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Brandon,
Quick question: Is Andy Serkis voicing Gollum in that game? Do we know?
I don't know. I
I'll
wish
look
he
it up.
was, but I don't think that we know yet, unless we do. But it's not connected to Peter Jackson at all. So
Well, I was just thought like Andy Serkis might take on that role again, just knowing him, if it was offered to him. But well, in my opinion, 2021 was definitely the year of Marvel. Between we basically every week had some new Marvel content to consume, at least for like 8 of 12 months, which is a lot. But I believe 2022 will be the year of Star Wars. Because I believe we are getting not only a new Star Wars game, Star Wars Eclipse, if you saw the trailer for that for the Game Awards, which will happen during the High Republic era. We are also supposedly getting the Kenobi series, the Andor series, as well as Mandalorian season 3 in 2022. Also, the long anticipated Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, which I have had on
yes,
pre-order since 2019 when they announced it, and they keep delaying the game, and I just want the game.
they're just adding more content. That's what we
I
can
sure
hope.
hope so. There better be some free DLC in this for me.
There better be some good freaking minifigures.
Yes. But apparently they have like 500 different characters in this game, so
I love
I'm so
Lego games.
excited. But Kenobi series, incredibly excited for it. Mandalorian season 3, I could not be more excited. And also like this year ends with Book of Boba Fett, so
Yeah, I
like
was gonna say
going into
most.
22,
Yeah,
like 2022, it's gonna start with Book of Boba Fett. Then we could probably, I think Kenobi comes next. Then we get Andor, and then we get Mandalorian season 3. Um, and then after that, we'll be getting Ahsoka and all this other stuff. But there's just so much Star Wars content. And this year we did get some good Star Wars content with Visions. And I think that's just setting up because the MCU, Disney's had Marvel for a little bit longer than they've had Star Wars. So they've had a little bit longer to set that up. Kevin Feige's been in it this whole process. So I think Star Wars is going to kick it up a notch this year. And that's what I'm most excited for. And then to throw in, what I'm most excited for Marvel, Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. I cannot wait. That looks so good.
oh,
Are we are we allowed to mention that thing, Isaac? Is it on the internet?
I don't think we should,
Okay, I don't think we should either.
but I will say that people should go watch stuff and then they can learn stuff.
Yes, if you have not
Oh, you mean
consumed
like
it,
let's say it real quick. Just watch the BuzzFeed quiz video where Jacob, Zendaya, and Tom
Yeah.
take a BuzzFeed quiz to see which Spider-Man No Way Home character they are most like. And Isaac, Zendaya said adaptations like you do. Adaption.
adaptions.
Yeah.
Adaptations. Adaptions. Hey, they're both words apparently. I looked it up thoroughly last time. I researched it and I said, I'm kind of right.
I mean, all sounds are words, depending, right?
There it
Hope
is.
you're the English major.
Well,
Yeah, no, okay, linguistically, like anything, you can literally make up a word, and if someone doesn't have to know it, like you just say it and it's a word. It doesn't have to be in the dictionary because the dictionary is basically a bunch of people said, yeah, we think this word is gonna last, and they
Well,
put it in.
the dictionary was
YOLO.
only made. The dictionary was only made to back up games of Scrabble.
Basically.
See,
Wait, what?
it's the only reason.
I think I like to play Scrabble. Apparently my uncle and my cousin, I haven't played it with them yet, but they play Scrabble with, as long as you can come up with a definition that makes sense for a set of sounds, it's a word.
I wish I played with
Basically.
people like that. I play with people that are like, if you have to give me, you have to know what the word means to use it.
Yeah.
Even if you like had heard the word and you know it's a word, like everyone knows it's a word. If you can't define that word, you can't use it. And I'm like, ugh, this is a
A word is
Scrabble.
just a set of morphemes and phonemes. Like, that's all it is.
Yeah.
Technically, as in linguistics.
I just got an A in my linguistics class, so
Woo.
I would
Okay.
agree. All right. Well, as always here on Raving Geeks, we like to end with some recommendations for our viewers, whether that be movies, video games, comics, or anything else geeky. So while we wait for all this awesome content from 2022 to start releasing, what can our geeks get into now?
Well, these three are old movies. And I know not everybody celebrates Christmas, and so these movies, I think, while they are centered around Christmas, and Christmas characters, I think that they are also family movies in general.
The Lord of the Rings. No, I'm just kidding.
No,
3 movies with
I
elves
will
and a guy with a
never
white beard.
recommend those movies. Sorry.
Sorry.
The Santa Claus movies, with Tim Allen. So the first one, the Santa Claus 2, and then the Santa Claus 3, the Escape Clause. I find them all absolutely amazing. My favorite is the Santa Claus 2, and I think it's just because when I was younger, I had a crush on Charlie. But
My favorite is the
like-
Santa Claus 3 because the actual title should be the Santa Claus 3, Why Capitalism Will Be the End of Society.
Yeah, I like the
I
Is
first
that
one.
not is that not the message that movie gives off? Like,
I like the first one because he kills Santa.
You can't Santa. Yeah, I love Charlie and all of them. But yeah, so they are fun, wholesome family movies too, not just centered on Christmas, but they do have a lot of good messages in them.
also, Santa Claus is
especially-
not like the religious part of the holiday, and I feel like the commercial part of the holiday is pretty accessible to most people. So,
But also, like, the first one, you're dealing with divorcing parents and child custody, and like the second one, you're like, oh, okay, the mom remarried it, now, and we're
blended families.
yeah. So I'm like, it works. I like that. So those are my recommendations.
All right. On a similar note to Christmas, I would like to recommend the Grimdark of Warhammer 40K. There is nothing but war. I don't know how it opens. So I've always been a big fan of the lore of Warhammer 40K. I've never actually played the tabletop game, mostly because it's really expensive. But I love the games, Dawn of War, Space Marine, and I love just reading the wiki for information on Warhammer 40K, which is a future where everything is war, and there's giant Space Marines, and there's space orcs, and there's space elves, and it's awesome and really geeky. But recently, I just got a book that was on my book list. My girlfriend bought it for me, and it's called Rin's World. And so now I'm actually getting into the novelizations of Warhammer 40K. And so far, this book's really good. I'd recommend this, but you might go in blind because you might not know anything. In which case, just watch some YouTube videos. It's fun. But this follows a planet and people trying to survive a giant orc war. So I recommend that. Like I said, Christmas themed.
Oh, mine's not Christmas themed. Mine's Spider-Man No Way Home themed. I'm not going to ignore the elephant in the room. That has come out. And if you haven't seen it, and are a comic books person, I recommend basically anything from the Amazing Spider-Man run from 2007 to 2009. But if you really want to get into it, Spider-Man, it's called One More Day, is really what No Way Home is based off of, like loosely. But to understand that one, you need to read all of Civil War and kind of all of House of M. So those are two things that like.
And to understand those ones, you gotta go
Yeah,
back.
you don't have to go all the way back for those ones, but Civil War is a good starting point. That's always a fun comic to read, and it introduces you to a lot of characters if you want to get into comics. But that's besides the point. And also all of the former Spider-Man movies, the Sam Raimi movies, the Andrew Garfield movies. Sam Raimi is the Tobey Maguire ones, but he's the director who's also directing Doctor Strange: Multiverse of Madness. But yeah, those. And also, I'm also a big board game fan, and one that I've been playing with my family a lot is called Blockus. If you have that one, you probably have it in your basement. Um, Everyone I know just seems to have it. And also this game called Azul, which is based off of an old Portuguese traditional game. You just have to match up a bunch of different colored tiles, but it's really complicated. It's a fun strategy game.
I'm pretty sure Azul's the name of the god in
No, Azul, like the
Azul,
Portuguese
okay.
word for blue.
Yeah. Yes.
Like the one similar word in Spanish and Portuguese.
At least I think I'm probably wrong. I'm gonna get butchered by Portuguese people in the comics.
Is blue in Spanish, I know for a fact. So
it is blue in Spanish. I really hope it's blue in Portuguese.
Get in the comments. Anyway, prove Brendan right or wrong.
Just destroy me in the comments for my lack of knowledge of Portuguese. But anyway, that's all we have for y'all today. Thank you for joining us here on Raving Geeks, and thank you for being with us throughout this entire year. Make sure you leave a comment wherever you're listening from. We love to hear from you, and we love to hear ideas for what to do in this next upcoming year, 2022. We will probably be on a short hiatus because we'll be at home with our families. But we will get back to you as soon as we are back on our regular scheduled programming. And then you can always reach out to us on Facebook or Twitter or TikTok at Raving Geeks. And as always, I've been Brendan Valentine alongside my fellow co-hosts.
Hope Gooderl.
And I've been Isaac Hunter.
Stay geeky and have a great weeky, everyone. So long.
Happy New Year.
Avida sang? No, that's not what that means. What's the New Year's song?
Out Loud Sang?
Oh, yeah.
Auld
Lang Syne. That's what I meant to say. All right. Also, bye. Before I embarrass myself
good luck
again.
to our bowl game, guys.
Bye.
Oh, yes. Fire up chips.